Greetings, happy Friday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show right here on BlazeTV radio and podcast. I am Steve Deace with Todd Erzin, and Aaron McIntyre will be joined in a few minutes by our good friend, New York talk show host Shannon Joy for the Deace Group. You don't want to miss that. You also don't want to miss out on our friends at First Cup Coffee Company. They have a flavor for every freedom-loving American. They have the same value system as you, but don't just buy their coffee for that reason. All right, don't sacrifice quality. We want to incentivize excellence around here. All right, so no, you don't just get to, take the Lord's name or wrap it in a flag and then say, but you have some obligation to buy my mediocre product. No, I don't. If you really believe in that flag and you really believe in that Lord, then you should be taking the talents and gifts that he gave you, and this country gives you the opportunity to utilize and capitalize on and maximize them to their fullest potential, all right, to his glory. They do that at First Cup Coffee Company. So if you want to try it today, get 10% off when you go to firstcup.com and use the promo code DACE. That's firstcup.com. Promo code DACE for 10% off. And if you subscribe, you get an additional 10% off as well. Can't beat it. Firstcup.com, promo code DACE. Next hour, it'll be Feedback Friday. And boy, howdy, do we have some beauties lined up that I can't wait to share. But first, it's time for the Deace Group. Your weekly look at the week that was. There she is. Good to see you, Shannon. And I know a lot of people are very excited because it has been too long.
There we go.
They are ready. Well, also to see you, Shannon. But really, I was talking about issue 1.
Oh.
Bleep, Lord Nefarious says.
And then we come back here to state of Florida, where Ron DeSantis felt like he needed to run for president. And so 15 weeks wasn't good enough. We had to go to 6 weeks.
Do you feel like it was right to hold 3 of the janitor workers hostage inside of the building?
I think that's a really false narrative.
That's what the janitors are saying, that they weren't allowed to leave.
I think that's a really false narrative.
Do you think October 7th and the attack that happened is a false narrative? Do you believe that some of the women were raped?
My colleague just came back.
So this is what happened.
Can you get out of my face, please?
So
what happens in November, 7 months from right now? This time next year, I might not be sitting here. There might not be a White House Correspondents' Dinner or a free press.
How do the Democrats, how do all of us on that side say January 6th was wrong if you can have the same pictures going on college campuses?
Good Lord, don't make a parallel with January 6th.
You lose the moral high ground.
That has happened, though.
So we did what we did with COVID. We are very proud. We saved the world, but it is behind us now. We want to do once more, and I think oncology is our best chance to do it. But
oncology.
Of course,
first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
12 seconds later.
Nobody's asking them to bring anything. We're asking them to not violently stop us from bringing in basic humanitarian aid.
This news exclusively on CBS News. The Biden administration is considering a plan to allow some Palestinian refugees to come here to the United States.
I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now.
Yeah.
But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
Donald Trump has the worst record of job loss of any president. So we just have to make sure people know.
That was a global pandemic.
He had the worst record of any president. We've had other concerns in our country. If you want to be an apologist for Donald Trump, that may be your role.
4 more years. Pause.
I have to say, after several weeks away, that really disappointed, which means it did not disappoint. I mean, after that,
I'm like a 5.
I am not in Bleep Lord Nefarious Says shape. I haven't done a Bleep Lord Nefarious Says set in a few weeks. I'm going to have to make sure my hydration's high. I'm going to have to stretch. I might need a rest day before I do another set of Bleep Lord Nefarious Says after that one. So Shannon, as the guest and ladies first around here, you get the first question. What was the most reprehensible thing that you just saw and why?
Well, I'm just enjoying the mockery of the revolutionaries on college campuses. I mean, we do the worst, lamest color revolutions ever. If we have one in the United States of America, I mean, it looks like these college students wrapped a Pizza Hut tablecloth around their head that they got shit, from Soros. Then they get up on the podium and
with their green tents, with their uniform green tents. Don't forget that too, Shannon. The uniform green tents. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah.
You're right. No, then they get up on the podium and they ask, for their snack pack and blankies because it's nap time for all the revolutionaries. I mean, this is no Libya. We're not in Ukraine here. But, the one thing you can't say about Americans is we're very earnest. They mean it. The belly shirt, though, behind that speaker was also great. The guy was literally wearing a belly shirt. I loved it. This is fun now.
That is the best take I have seen yet, or read or heard on the campus chaos of the last few weeks. I mean, that is so right on the button, man. Made me laugh out loud twice. I mean, it is.
There we go.
You're right.
You laugh, Steve.
I've said before, you guys have heard me say before, this is going to be the dumbest empire decline in all of human history.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, you're tapping into that energy. All right, we are. This country is so dumb that even our color revolutions are lame. Even the color revolutions are meh. Okay, that is a great take, man. That's a phenomenal take. Todd, good luck to you. You're next.
Never, and I mean never, underestimate me when I tell you about the magical power of vaccines. Because it is May of 2024. 4 years. More than 4 years now since we shut her down. And Albert Bourla just gets up there with no pushback. We saved the world. This is as cultic and as deep and idle. The moms are still lining up to jab their babies right when they're born with all 70 of those shots. It's just proof once again. They knew they had us before COVID. We love this stuff. It's magic to us. I'm just so... Nothing learned. Nothing.
It was good for Fox to give him the platform to do that too, wasn't it?
Classic.
Fox News giving literally a mass murderer, giving him a platform to go on there and sociopathically claim that he has saved hundreds of millions of lives.
Fox News, Donald Trump, most conservatives, Ben Shapiro. It doesn't this hearty band of four, and we'll throw in a couple others. Lessons have not been learned.
Nope.
Aaron?
I think a lot of people are missing something about that Albert Bourla clip. Did you hear, and I played a slightly extended clip the other day in the montage, did you hear what he was talking about? What he's really optimistic about?
Oh, their new cancer drug.
Yeah.
Oh,
oncology.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
oncology.
What have we seen an explosion of here in the COVID era?
A demand for oncologist services, basically.
Yeah.
We're going to cure the cancer we caused.
Turbo cancers, youth cancers, explosive cancers. Yeah.
Now, Albert Bourla is a horse doctor. His formal training is in veterinarian medicine. Do you think a horse doctor knows what blinders are? Probably. If you're a horse doctor, you know what blinders on. I come here to tell you, Albert Bourla is wearing the most cosmic, spiritual, empirical blinders I think I've ever seen. They're about as tall as One World Trade Center in New York and about as wide as the Atlantic Ocean. What an evil, evil POS.
Yeah.
He's just an evil son of a gun.
We just ran, either you just ran the poll or Steve, you brought it up earlier this week. 50% of Republicans still had no idea that Robert F. Kennedy's main thing was vaccines.
Yes. Yeah.
No one's learned anything. No one knows anything.
That was a poll. That was a poll that said that I think also 41% of Republicans or something said they'd be more likely to support RFK Jr. if they knew that. And similar percentages of Democrats said they'd be less. They're less likely to support RFK Jr. now because of his position on vaccine skepticism. All right, I'll do it since nobody else did. But I mean, I am just like visibly nauseated at that Drew Barrymore Kamala Harris clip. I mean,
It's gross.
It is gross. It's unnatural.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like I stumbled into some Gnostic matriarchal cultic rite, you know, and I'm like, I don't belong here. And the people cheering afterwards, it just makes it even worse. And it's just like, I shouldn't be here. You know, there's something very dark is occurring here and unnatural, and I should vacate these premises as soon as absolutely possible. I mean, it's repulsive. I have my gag reflex, Aaron, is activated by it.
Didn't we solve a mystery though with this? We were long wondering who in the world was Katie Britt's inspiration for that State of the Union rebuttal? Haven't we solved that mystery now? Wasn't it Drew Barrymore?
Oh my gosh.
Wasn't she trying to channel
That's a comparison.
Drew Barrymore there?
Seriously?
That is a comparison. But the thing at the end, 4 more years, pause.
And then the crowd.
And guys, that's America in a microcosm right there.
Yeah.
A declining power, a generation that just won't let go of power, feeble to the point of feebleness, and just reading off a script, just reading slogans and talking points from previous eras that have no meaning anymore, and then going the full with no self-awareness whatsoever Ron Burgundy in the process. 4 more years.
Just wait till that gets 81 million votes again.
I know. Maybe 82 if we're lucky. Yeah, I hear you. Exit question. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being how many times Lindsey Graham really needs a proctology exam, and 10 being how many of them he schedules every year anyway. Rank this week's level of total depravity. Shannon.
Listen, I'm a low score this week. I'm psyched that everyone is so quickly over the color revolution, man, and mocking it. So I'm optimistic for the future. I'll give it a 3.
Oh, I'm at a 18. I'm at an 18. Todd?
I'm at
Vanta Black. Whatever Vanta Black is on the color spectrum is where I am.
Because I'm Vanta Black. Because I'm Vanta Black, I'm going to honor that and do the. I can't remember the last time I haven't given a 10, but I'm going to give it a solid 5 this week.
Yeah, I'm at a 5.
You guys should all be ashamed of yourselves.
I'm at a 5.
You guys, every single one of you should be ashamed of yourselves.
I don't think you honor Vanta Black the way you said
I'm the one actually. I'm apparently the only one honoring it. Okay, you guys trying to inject some level of modicum of restraint and even quasi hetero doxical optimism into this analysis. That was a brutal watch. Are you kidding me?
The worst you could come up with was Drew Barrymore on the couch.
The word I said, right? It's like one of the most repulsive things I've ever seen.
Well, that's not true.
All right, let's before we get to issue 2, let's talk about our friends over at Preborn, because I definitely think we need to shine some light in the darkness, and they do. They're an outstanding pro-life ministry. They have saved hundreds of thousands of babies with their approach, and it's not unique. They kind of do what much of the modern American church no longer does. They actually just patterned themselves after God. So, I mean, most of the modern American church doesn't do that anymore. So this will seem very foreign to many of you. But what they believe in is grace and truth. And truth requires a confrontation, and moms get one. Now, it might be gentle. It might not be as harsh as maybe what you'll hear from me on a daily basis, but it's a confrontation nevertheless. Hey, you need to know that is a person that you are carrying, a baby. You're carrying a baby. Hear that heartbeat. But here's the thing they also know, that the battle is not over. That's a key battle, but the war is not over when moms choose life. Because chances are a mom that is in a great place in her life is not thinking of killing her child. It's a mom who's not. So she needs support, and they are there, both before and after the baby is born, to provide that. Everything I just mentioned, they do free of charge. but that requires tax-deductible donations from people like us. If you'd like to make one today, go to preborn.com/Steve. Again, preborn.com/Steve, or dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby on your mobile phone, or go to preborn.com/Steve. All right, let's continue on with your weekly look at the week that was. Let's get to issue 2, DINKs.
This week, the spirit of the age gave the increasingly elusive demographic of the young married couple 2 choices: a meaningless life of luxury with 2 incomes and no kids, or being a right-wing extremist. In the former case, another one of those DINK videos went viral this week. DINK means double income, no kids, and you might watch this and think, what's wrong with that?
We're DINKs, and here's how we spend most of our Saturdays in our early 30s. We slept until 7, but laid in bed till 8. I got out of bed and did some laundry, then made the bed. I changed into workout clothes and drank my AG1. Then I supervised David while he did the dishes. I made a smoothie, and then we relaxed and caught up on work on the back porch. After that, I got on the treadmill for about an hour. We had dinner reservations with friends, so I got to take my time getting ready, and then we headed out. We met our friends for dinner and drinks, and we were still in bed by 10 o'clock. It was a great day.
They're bragging about not having kids. They don't want them, and they're choosing this life of luxury and unending dinner parties instead. On the other hand, though, if that sort of life seems meaningless and stale, and maybe you and your spouse want kids, Politico wants you to know you're a right-wing extremist. Here's their story. The far right is so obsessed with making babies, they just held a whole conference about it behind the scenes at the first Natal Con. The story details a conference of so-called natalists last year in Austin, Texas, a gathering of people concerned with the falling birth rate amongst the Western world and what to do about it. Their chief aim, of course, is encouraging family formation and growth. At one point in the story, Politico says, quote, some of the women in attendance, however, have come to Austin with their children in tow, a visual representation of the desired outcome of this weekend, as if to emphasize the reason we're all gathered here today. A baby babbles in the background while one of the event organizers delivers his opening remarks. So there you have it. If you're one of the dwindling examples of young married couples in the West, the spirit of the age wants you to know you have 2 options: never-ending boredom and dinner parties on Saturday nights with people you probably don't like, or being a right-wing extremist because you have kids. The choice is yours.
All right, Todd, I'm going to go to you first this time. First question, would any previous generation of Americans had made having kids a politically partisan issue? Why or why not?
No, I don't think so, because no previous generation would have had this level of mass narcissism be possible. And it wasn't even, this has only been possible really since the social media age allowed you to just turn your own camera on yourself. And
everybody's a star.
And everybody gets to be Jerry Springer famous. I mean, we watch that. And it's funny, Steve.
Hold on. I want to make sure we stress the point you just made, because I think it's brilliant what you just said. What I hear you saying is, prior to the advent of social media, tell me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I just heard you say, man, and it just clicked in my brain, prior to the advent of social media, the opportunity for everybody to make their lives solely about them just simply wasn't there. And the natural human desire for significance, therefore, was often found in leaving a legacy, having children. Okay, is that what I kind of hear?
Yeah, picture that stupid couple 10, 15 years ago. If they wanted to say, they'd have to go out to the middle of the quad and yell, we're DINKs, and this is what it would be. You're an idiot. Get out. Correct. Now they do this, and it doesn't even matter.
Now it's a viral video.
Even if it isn't viral, it doesn't matter. It can be, if millions of people are doing this and no one's watching it, they're still doing it. They're still narcissists. They think they're that important. 0 people could be watching it, and the psychological demonic effect is the same. They are owned by the camera, and their story, whatever they call it. This has started off with housewives on Facebook. This is filters on cameras. This is kind of glossing, putting only stuff up on Facebook that kind of tells your story in a way you want it to be sold. I mean, this is legion. I can't even tell. Just like Steve, we were watching something before we got on the show on a totally different issue. We couldn't tell if it was real or not. I can't tell if that's parody or not. Somebody could easily that could have been done by the Babylon Bee. They could be people mocking that. It's so ridiculous. But this is what has happened. When you turn that camera on yourself and you are in love with yourself, there is we have to be careful as Christians. There's nothing new under the sun in terms of the core fundamentals of what break
the machinery, the methods of carrying out that cravenness is new.
This thing just turns it up to. I'm watching a show that you told us to watch, and I'm partway through it. And one of the themes is that how quickly now our technology is advancing. Whereas we went from agrarian to industrial, took a long time.
Yep.
But we went from this, now. I mean, Steve, come on.
By the way, one of the show you're watching, narcissism is at the forefront of that show too.
Steve, me, Shannon. Look, our kids now look at us and the way we grew up. We thought we were playing with abacuses.
Yeah.
Because of how fast things are moving. And we would have never imagined these things. This is like Star Trek. And now we've all got them, and our kids have them.
Dude, that straight up, man, that's an Aquinas Augustine level take right there. I mean, that's the stuff of papal enclaves, how you just diagnosed that.
That's Vanta Black to you.
Aaron, your thoughts?
I mean, isn't that...
I am wearing Vanta Black. Anyway, go ahead, Aaron.
Isn't the dink phenomenon just the natural conclusion of Imagine by John Lennon? It's just, there's nothing but us here. And so might as well. Plus the people in this case, they're 30-year-olds. They're millennials. They're my generation. Who bore the millennials? It's the... cue another 15 emails in your inbox, but it's the boomer generation. They just watch the boomer generation accumulate wealth. By and large, if this doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. Why do we have to keep giving that explanation and that disclaimer? If this doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you if you're a boomer. Stop sending Steve emails. But by and large, your generation accumulated wealth for the purposes of spending it on luxury, on themselves, on toys, on this. So they just had that as an example, and now they're just saying, well, why do we even have kids now? I mean, thanks, Mom and Dad, for life, but why do we even have... They're just basically carrying out their examples. It's the natural fulfillment of Imagine by John Lennon. There's nothing outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
Nothing transcendent. It's just us. So how do you combat that? As Todd likes to say, and I'm channeling him again, 40 years in the desert, something along those lines.
More.
Shannon, let's get a woman's perspective here. What say you?
Well, I think we are certainly grappling with the rapid evolution of technology and AI and the addiction that millions upon millions of Americans, and especially our kids, have on devices. And this was only accelerated due to the lockdowns of 2020, where everyone was thrown onto their devices. And so there's that element. Humanity is going to have to grapple with this new technology. And figure out what parts of it we want to keep and what we also need to throw away. So that's going to be, the next 10 years as we figure out, because the AI and the surveillance and the addiction to the self via the phone is going to be a major problem. We're also dealing with the anti-human agenda that is rolled out through social media. So when you see a viral video like that, you have to question, is it really viral or is it platformed? And certainly it is. What they're trying to do is normalize a certain type of behavior and the new 21st century lifestyle, which is a depopulation anti-human agenda. Remember, the folks over at World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, the United Nations.
Dude, Larry Fink at BlackRock was just saying this yesterday, Shannon.
Yeah. 500 million. That's the number. We right now have about 7 to 8 billion people on the planet. Biblically speaking, God wants us to procreate, to multiply, right? Be good stewards of this beautiful creation and multiply. So fill every corner of the earth. So there's the spiritual biblical aspect of this as well. And I'm actually reading a book by Jonathan Cahn called Return of the Gods, which really looks at, you made an important statement about how unlike any other century this is, really going back even to before the Dark Ages. it's post-collapse of the Roman Empire that we have really had throughout the world of a Judeo-Christian biblical worldview that had boundaries, right? So we've seen in the past 20 years just an absolute shedding of every boundary humanly possible. Massive corruption among our leaders in Washington, D.C. and in politics. Just depraved actions that are being forced on our kids, and full on XXX pornography in school libraries, the normalization of absolutely abhorrent sexual behaviors and the expansion of all of those norms. And so there really is, we are completely untethered, completely set adrift in this kind of tumultuous anti-God reality that we're living in. And it really is similar to the gods of the Old Testament, the Baals and the Ashtoreths, and where people just were completely depraved, decrepit. And unfortunately, this is the reality of what we have to deal with now as we try to chart something for our children in the 21st century. So somehow we're going to have to put those gods away, but it might only happen with an awakening of enough people to usher in a new type of godly existence. But these are the times we live in.
That's really well said as well. And I go back to what you said a minute ago. I wish we had more time because we could have really dove more into this. But when you said we're going to have to figure out, I'm paraphrasing here, but we're going to have to figure out, this new technology, what is useful and then what is not. The problem with that is by which standard or standards are we going to make that determination?
Right.
And there's really only two standards for such determinations ethically. There's really only two. Utilitarian or biblical. Those are the only two. Those are the only two standards. Right? So utilitarian, Malthusian ethics, that's what Larry Fink at BlackRock was talking about yesterday. That's the depopulation agenda that Shannon was just citing. That's to each according to his abilities, for each according to his needs. Okay? That's that worldview's moral ethic. Okay? Or is it going to have the biblical ethic that actually humanity and human worth and dignity is at the summit of the created order?
Well, then we're screwed because
the most important thing God created was people, and everything after that is secondary. That's what I mean by that. Todd, quickly, go ahead.
Well, most people who claim a biblical ethic these days would scream just as loudly as anybody else if you took their tech away or their air conditioning or whatever it was. We're in trouble.
We are. Yeah.
We're in trouble.
We are in trouble. Yeah. I mean, we're kind of cornered here into a revival or bust scenario. Let's get to the exit question. Do you believe we can breed our way to victory in the culture war, Aaron?
No.
Why?
It's a lengthy explanation, and I've given it before, but the way that our nutrition is set up, the way that our desires are set up, the way that our system is set up, it's all stacked against people who want to have children. When people have children, we're talking at the very tippy tip of a pyramid that is stacked against them. There's a much
meaning
bigger...
eventually the math doesn't work.
Yes.
People won't do it for anything other than moral reasons because all the incentivization structure is against them for natural reasons.
That's part of it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Todd, what do you think?
No, we can't simply do that. People will grow to resent that. Again, you can't. We act as if like there's Christians are just. We could just tell them that having babies was cool. Christians have been turning off the spigot on this for a long time. I have 4 kids. People look at me like I have 8 these days. It's relative, The people and the church are fundamentally the problem.
Shannon, less than a minute. Go. You get the last word.
Well, we might have to. I mean, I think that no, not in isolation, breeding is going to solve these problems, but I think that it can make a big difference. And I think that we are going to see a clear division for some time. When I look at the homeschool communities and their expansion and how they're thriving, I'm in awe of that. So you can certainly set up parallel institutions and
subcultures. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
You might have to. given what's coming.
But that's more of a Dunkirk strategy than winning on a corporate level. But yeah, you could do that. All right, we'll come back. More of the Deace Group here in a moment. For a decade now, Patriot Mobile has been on the cutting edge, leading the charge of the parallel economy as America's only American mobile phone service provider. And when I say only, trust me, we mean it. Why do you want to make the switch today? Well, first of all, it's a great product. Phenomenal customer service team. They have done great work for our family every time we've asked. If you become a member, they'll do the same for you. For example, anytime you need to switch, they've got 3 networks within their main hub. Anytime you need to switch networks because you've moved to a different part of the country or even state where one network is better than the other, they'll do that for you, free of charge. When you go to make the switch, they'll customize it for you any way you'd like. If you want to keep your number, you can. You want to switch your number so people can't find you anymore. Make it even harder for the Republican Party to send you, "I'm sick of waiting, Steve," robo-text messages. Your GOP card has been canceled if you don't donate, Steve. Just switch your number. Maybe they won't be able to find you this time. Upgrade your phone, keep your phone, whichever you prefer. They'll help you do it when you go to patriotmobile.com/Steve. And speaking of that awesome customer service team, they're US-based, which means you'll actually be able to understand them. patriotmobile.com/Steve is where you can go. And if you use my name, Steve, as the promo code, you'll get a free activation when you make the switch today at patriotmobile.com/Steve. Again, that's patriotmobile.com/Steve. All right, let's welcome back in our good friend Shannon Joy as we continue on with your weekly look at the week that was. Let's get to issue 3, the HighWire.
Shannon went on the HighWire with Bigtree and talked about what's truly going to be required of everyone to take this country back.
Part of me does this because I want other parents to see you can stand up at school board meetings. And yeah, there are consequences. You might lose some friendship. You might get some funny looks. You might even be arrested at a school board meeting. But you'll be okay. And if parents did this, and if citizens in the U.S. did this all over the country, from the local level, when bad things are happening, when our federal government or the World Health Organization or any big governing body comes in and tries to do things that our spirit rages against, or our Constitution, the founding of our country, it is our job to stand up and to speak out and to try to stop that in our community.
So Shannon, I wanted to include this in the rundown because they're a unique outfit. We've had Bigtree on the show before, but it's been a couple of years. A large parts of our audience may not be familiar with them, but we wanted to give them a chance to be featured, but also the fact that they featured your work within their own platform. So let's start there. Who is the HighWire, and why would you even be interested in going on with them?
Well, this is a new emerging independent media platform. And a lot of these new independent emerging media platforms came out of the dark days of 2020 and the lockdowns of 2020. So you have organizations like Brownstone Institute and Daily Clout and Children's Health Defense and the HighWire, which features Bigtree. Their organization started out really exposing the regulatory capture of the government by pharmaceutical corporations, and they really platformed vaccine injury, vaccine awareness, informed consent. So they had been working with, I'd been using Dell's work and Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s work in Children's Health Defense for many, many years prior to the dark days of COVID-19. But they knew exactly what was going on, though. When COVID-19 came, they knew, as I did, because we had been reporting on this, that all COVID roads would lead to forced or coerced vaccination because it wasn't their first rodeo. So this is, we talked even in that interview, is a wide-ranging interview, lots of topics. We discussed AI, which keeps Dell up at night, like many of us. It's an interesting collaboration because Dell, like myself, he was kind of a former liberal Democrat, was red-pilled, went down the rabbit hole over the vaccine issue, realized what we're really dealing with, and then kind of emerged out of that. I come from a conservative, Republican, Christian, background, but same thing, right?
when you go up, when you hit the topics that are the third rail topics, and let me tell you, vaccines are the third rail. I've been saying for many years, I think that vaccines will be the defining issue of the 21st century. And I think that that's playing out right now as we're seeing problems not only with the COVID-19 vaccine, but also all vaccines, the childhood vaccine schedule, HPV, the flu. People are now waking up and observing that. This new independent media genre is also addressing that very, very critically important percentage of Americans, 25 to 30% of Americans who refuse the COVID-19 vaccines, despite being threatened with losing their jobs, losing their livelihood, financial ruination of their character and their reputations. That is an enormous group of constituents. And as a marketer, when you see that number of Americans who are at this point single issue, but they're learning how that, their positions on vaccines are going to extend into other issues like the border, like, the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, you're going to see this new emergence of, I think, a new coalition of Americans that will be liberty-based. And that will be the coalition that will determine whether or not we're free or slaves in the 21st century. And I truly believe that. So it was a large conversation bringing together many demographics, both political parties, old, young, black, white, you name it. But I think it's going to be the future of media in this country.
Todd, Aaron, you have any thoughts?
Well, I mean, you know what I think about Del Bigtree early on in COVID when you said, okay, this is your world, Todd, who do I need to know about? And he's the first guy I brought up. And here's why he's good. I mean, he's clearly smart and he understands the science. But besides being a former liberal Democrat, his background is in he's behind the camera TV production. So he understands narrative propaganda manipulation. And it's one thing to have all the science, but these people are so shameless. They'll tell moms who had one baby one day, they got all jacked up with these vaccines and the kid was lobotomized the other. And they'll just look them in the eye and, well, no, you're wrong. I mean, he's been able to fight them back on the propaganda front as well. He's very, very smart that way, and that's half the ball game.
Aaron?
The fact that a platform like this, the HighWire, which existed pre-COVID, but has gained so much of a broader base, it seems like, of a following in the aftermath of COVID, that is a sign of, that's at the very least encouraging in my mind. Yeah. Let's just say that our numbers on people who consume Shannon Joy or Steve Deace or Daniel Horowitz, let's just say that our numbers are very small. I still think that the consolidation, people together, that's always a good thing. Give me a unified 15% versus a fragmented 50 or 80% any day of the week. So I hope that's a positive thing, a positive sign of things to come.
All right, before we get to our kicker topic, a word about our friends at Real Estate Agents I Trust. We've got mortgage rates now at 7.92%. It was official this morning. You are absolutely paying double for a mortgage payment in America. We've been approaching that, near that. So it was basically the case, but now it's official. You are paying double now for a new mortgage. A 30-year fixed rate new mortgage payment is double now what it was the day Joe Biden took office. So a lot of economic uncertainty still in the country. Dare not go into the real estate market here without an agent you can trust, and we'll help you with that at realestateagentsitrust.com. A lot of times, these agents we're going to refer you to are going to be from the same audience right here on the Blaze, so you know you have a similar value system here too, so that's important to have that in common. They're going to be the top sellers in your market. They're going to know the best practices to get you to where you want to go, whether that is across town or across the country. They'll help you with that at realestateagentsitrust.com. Again, the name says it all. We'll hook you up with one of these, and they're not always easy to find. realestateagentsitrust.com. Again, realestateagentsitrust.com. All right, let's get to our kicker issue 4. Predicting Kristi Noem's next cringe. Now, I think this is one of the more difficult kicker challenges I've ever given the Deace Group panel, because we've had an adultery scandal Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But all kinds of national people were at least running with the rumors of her and Corey Lewandowski. She did beneath QVC levels of cringe dental commercials with extreme close-ups of her mouth.
Yeah.
Then there is the extreme cougar makeover. I mean, literally, you would not recognize the Kristi Noem of 2019 with the one you, and it wasn't, by the way, it's not like the one of 2019 was tough, fellow guys, was hard to look at, okay? That's not like the one that she walked in as your substitute teacher like, this is going to suck. Probably not, okay? But now we had to go hardcore cougar, all right? So we did that. And then let me release the excerpt of my book where I talked about killing my dog to show you just how tough I am. It is absolutely one of the trashiest, cringiest publicity campaigns by an American politician, I think, in the history of the country. I mean, it's just trashy. So, challenge must be accepted. All right? Predict her next cringe and don't get us all fired. Aaron, you're first.
She has a new hunting dog, and she's going to name that hunting dog Corey. Word on the street is that there's a guy originally from Lowell, Massachusetts, who is sweating bullets as we speak.
That would be cringy. Todd?
Whoever her dog is, she will be taking that dog, and they will soon be making an appearance together on the Drew Barrymore show.
Oh.
I just got that feeling like when you get a filling, the old metal fillings in your teeth, and you bit down on a piece of aluminum foil, or someone put the fingernails on the chalkboard. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
This country.
I take back all the nice things I just said about you.
This country needs to say no more often. Like, no, I'm not a dog murderer.
No, don't. Oh gosh, guys, that is fingernails on the chalkboard. Cringe. Don't do that. Shannon, redeem this segment.
I think it's got to be something along the lines of a Real Housewives Governor's Edition, featuring her, Kristi Noem, couple cat fights, a little bit of intrigue. But yeah, I'm getting the housewife vibe from
some bras get snapped.
There you go.
Some heels get broken off, right?
Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
You know it.
Some words get bleeped.
Out. You got to yank the weave out and toss the table, and Governor's Edition, though, right? So it happens at the Capitol.
Yank the weave out.
That's right.
That might have been the first time something like that's ever been said on this show. Got to yank the weave out.
Come on now, they all do it.
Oh my! And is there no one in her world? I want to say this to offer this situation some serious analysis for a second.
Ooh, yeah. I have something to say about that.
Shannon's like, I can't wait to hear how you do this. All right.
Sign me up.
But we talk a lot about elites out of touch with everyday people, right? The mythology of George H.W. Bush not knowing how a supermarket scanner worked. That, by the way, is a false story. Never occurred. But that kind of stuff. I mean, could you, can you mow? How many of these people mow their own lawn? How many of these people, are still in touch with everyday Americans, right? See, I think this works the other way, too. If we're being serious for a second, let's say nothing happened between Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem. This isn't, sister, this is not South Dakota, or is it North Dakota? I always forget where she's governor. South, that's right. Sister, this is not South Dakota. So you need to be aware of the fact that if you're going to travel around the country with a man who is not your husband and has his reputation with people and a close attachment to Donald Trump, folks are going to try, especially when your husband's never around, they're going to try to link these things and do the math on you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you have to be smart. Okay, so even if there's purely platonic and you trust his political instincts, then you plan out enough specific events where your husband's just going to show up and be there, and just because you're aware of you're in the big leagues now. All right, this ain't Bismarck. Okay, these are the big leagues. and you're being looked at and considered for a national race and a national standard bearer, up your game. It works the other way too. All right, you can't Jed Clampett this thing. Understand the neighborhood you're living in now. A little more self-awareness. No, don't do infomercials. Don't do that. Okay. And by the way, if you're going to pimp a business, at least make it one in your own state, for goodness sakes.
Right.
Or pick a battleground state. Like go find a guy in Arizona or Georgia that could do that for your mouth. Pick him. All right. I mean, even if all of these things are unfair and innocent, a whole lot more political acumen and wisdom would have gone a long way. But you just watch this woman's career just end right in front of you.
Real quick, you also have to wonder if she has any agency. I mean, one of the topics that Del and I talked about in our interview was this like sinking feeling that so many of our politicians and elected leaders are somehow corrupted.
Oh,
and do
absolutely.
Not have agency, right?
We were saying this last week on the show.
Yeah.
Now, when someone says, well, I had an intelligence briefing, that's code for they either wrote me a check or they showed me the embarrassing information about myself I don't want out. Yeah, exactly.
Right. All right. You know, because it reeks of desperation to me. What she's doing is not a woman who is free to do what she wants to do.
Yeah. And so it's either a prison of her own making or somebody else's. Agreed. All right, predictions. Aaron, quickly go.
By this time next week, we will know the identities of at least 5 to 10 of the counter-protesters at Ole Miss who were just out there barking at some of the foolish pro-Hamas orc LARPers. By this time next week, again, those 5 to 10 people will be doxxed. They will be the new face of white supremacy in the United States, and it's going to be like those pro-Hamas orc LARPers, commie LARPers, revolutionary LARPers. Never happened at all.
Todd?
When the top 10 baby names comes out next year among Democrats, one of the top 10 baby names will be Mamala.
Oh.
Mamala. Oh, no.
I really did
Get
take
off
back
of this.
everything I said good about you. I mean,
Todd, this is your new Trump Bible.
I absolutely just despise you at this moment.
Fanta.
Shannon, quickly go.
How do I follow that? I think that RFK Jr. is going to very easily get on the ballot in all 50 states, and he's going to have a major impact on this presidential election. Even if he doesn't win, it's going to impact the culture and the discussion.
Mine is within the next couple of years. I think this will happen fast. A majority of American Protestants will either be charismatics or reformed, which seems like an odd pairing because they are very often at odds with one another.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
But they are the groups that are good, that all of the dissidents that Shannon is describing on the Christian within biblical Christianity on the Protestant side are all ending up in one of those two places. One of those two places.
I like it.
Shannon, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
You bet. Good to see you again as always. We'll come back. It'll be Feedback Friday, and we've got some doozies you don't want to miss. Stay tuned. And we are back here with Hour 2, live and on demand right here on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. I am Steve Deace. You are you, and you can let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedeace.com inbox, steve@stevedeace.com. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook, MeWe, and Gab. Follow me at Steve Deace Show on Twitter, Getter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also find me via the podcast. If you listen to that, we love you so much because you're a big reason why we get to keep doing this for a living. So if you wouldn't mind, if you have yet to do this, leave us a 5-star review and then also hit subscribe, or if you're tuning in on iTunes these days, it's follow. And that way, every time we do a new episode, it will show up in your feed every single time. And we appreciate all of you that have done those things for us. They've been a big boost to the program. Speaking of boosts to the program that we appreciate, I want to give a shout out today. And Aaron, I know that you will join me in this. Today is the last day at the company for the most valuable player we have at the Blaze that probably a lot of you don't know. This is our maestro engineer, Rob Chickering's last day. And Aaron, of course, you've worked with him closer than I have the last few years, but I have worked with him quite a bit too, whether it's down at the Blaze, anything. Every time I take the show on the road down there, he'll stop whatever he's doing, and he's always doing 50 things to make sure I had absolutely everything that I needed. And it's always pleasant. Every engagement too. It never makes you feel like you were interrupting him or that he's exasperated or has better things to do. This studio that you guys love, he basically installed almost all of it. He's just an absolute stud. He will be missed, and he's one of the people on the other side of the camera that make everything that we do here possible. And I wanted to make sure that we gave Rob a shout out today on his last day, Aaron.
Yeah, and if you do broadcasting at any sort of scale whatsoever, you can't do it without engineers. And if you've set foot within any broadcast environment and had any interaction with engineers, Steve, what will you tell? What's one of the first thing you have? Even if they're the nicest engineers, please speak in English to me.
Yes.
Please talk in English.
Yes. Rob
is the only engineer, and I've been around a lot of engineers. Not to knock any of them; they're all capable in their own right, and I can understand the engineerese quite a bit. But he speaks in plain English in a way that's easy to understand and absolutely crucial to this show's environment that you get to enjoy every single day and that we get to enjoy bringing to you every single day. And so Rob, just for his engineering acumen alone with the signal flow and everything that needs to be done as far as the tech goes, he should be in the Hall of Fame. But when you think about the design and the aesthetic of something that you have to see and that you have to hear and that you have to kind of experience, I mean, he's right up there with the best of them as well. So going to be missed, speaking just for myself personally, and I know for everybody down at the Blaze too, going to be missed.
I mean, if you guys have ever seen our facility in Dallas, it is a massive campus, state-of-the-art. At different iterations of this network, he's had Jason Whitlock in Nashville, Dave Rubin in Florida, us in Iowa, and he's in charge of all of those, satellite studios around the country as well. And just a cool dude that's great at his job. I mean, this has become a very successful company. I am sure there are qualified and capable engineers that are going to line up to try to fill his shoes. All of you just need to know those will be big shoes to fill. There's a lot of different egos and pressures and everything around here with the network and so many strong personalities. And he was just a stud, man. And I wanted to make sure that we gave him his propers on the way out the door and let everybody know and let Rob know you will be missed. And thank you for everything. All right. This part of the show brought to you by our friends over at Balance of Nature. And it is hard to maintain a healthy diet these days. Amy and I did our monthly grocery shopping yesterday. We came home, I think, with 8 or 9 grocery bags and a thing of protein shakes. It was $200. Blew our minds. Like, how did we spend $200? Okay, and have you noticed, too, that the healthier the food is, the more expensive it tends to be? It kind of goes to what you were talking about last hour with the incentivization structure.
Correct. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. I mean, this is where Balance of Nature comes in. And this has been a huge thing for me, too, as I'm trying to drop the last 40 pounds. I'm about halfway there. But times could get busy. I just forget. I don't have time to make a salad or something today. This is where Balance of Nature helps us make sure we get the recommended servings we need every day of fruits and vegetables. 31 fruits and vegetables with Balance of Nature, 31 different kinds. You couldn't eat all that produce in a day even if you could afford it. And most of us can't. All right. So when you go to balanceofnature.com, you'll get 35% off plus $10 off any additional sets with your first order as a preferred customer by using my discount code DACE. That's limited to 5 sets, but you'll save a ton of money while getting the fruits and vegetables you need in your diet. And by the way, can I just say as a consumer, you kind of want that. That is a huge discount. You kind of want to get that from a company that only offers that for a limited amount of time. Because they know it's a really good product. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you've got kind of a flim-flam product and you're going to, offer big discount savings like that on a permanent basis, just begging people to get it. This is a really good product. And it's really helped me to stay disciplined when the schedule gets busy and it's hard to do so. All right. I've got some speaking engagements coming up here, some traveling I got to do in the next couple of months. And again, just making sure I've got the salads and everything in to get my fruits and vegetables during the day is not easy. It's not easy to find fresh produce in an airport, for example. So this has been a big boost to me. I'd recommend it to you. Balanceofnature.com. Use the promo code DACE for 35% off. Balanceofnature.com. Promo code DACE for 35% off.
This is why I always have a Bloody Mary at the airport. You know, that's how I get my vegetables.
I had a Bloody Mary once.
Nice.
Once
Johnny Dangerously.
Yes.
Once that was enough. Once was enough. Guys,
ruined my birthday.
Went shopping yesterday, and Amy's like jumping up and down in one of the grocery aisles and pointing at something, and I'm like, "What is this?" You know, she's really excited. She points at it. It's Hershey's syrup, 0 sugar. And she's like, "It's like they made a product for you." Okay. So I'm like, single tear. Seriously. I'm just like, they get me. So I was anxious to put that thing in the bag or in the cart. Okay.
That's making it.
Doesn't matter. It was 0 sugar and it said Hershey's. Okay.
The balance of nature is going to zero it out.
True. It may not be the best follow-up to Balance of Nature, but anyway. We get it home. We unload all the groceries. I set it. It wasn't that many. It was still $200. I set it on the counter because I've got to try this. You know, I'm anxious because I'm like, this is going to be my hack. You know, 8, 9 o'clock, man. And I'm just like, man, I could just go for, my carb window ends at like 7 p.m., you know, and I'm like 8, 9 o'clock when I used to grab a cookie or something. And now I don't. I'm kind of Jones. And I'm like, I'm just going to grab a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down here, if you know what I'm saying. A little life hack. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I've got this thing completely figured out, right? I take a sample of that. And Amy's just like so excited. She's got like the proud wife look on her face. I found this for my husband. Okay, I've got his back. What a helpmate I am. And I'm so proud of her too for finding it for me. And I took one sample of this and I had the same look on my face as I swallowed it as I did watching the Kamala Harris, Drew Barrymore clip for the first time. And I told her this is one of the worst things in my life I've ever tasted. And we threw the entire thing out. It was awful, wretched, awful, terrible. Just awful.
That's a lovely end to that story from my perspective.
So this show has existed in its current form. Actually, just go back to when I did Sports Talk Radio since Memorial Day weekend of 2000. I'm going on a quarter century of doing this for a living every day. That is the first time ever I have warned my audience about anything called chocolate that is terrible and not to consume. Don't. When you see Hershey's 0 sugar,
well, just
don't. It's. I can't believe that they thought they should put that on the market. Like,
yes, you can because you bought it. Yes, you can.
Once.
This is what's amazing about this
That's
guy.
what made me think about it. Is Johnny Day? I did it once. I'm not doing that again.
This guy downloaded vaccine knowledge and information right after COVID as fast. Just like. But when it comes to this stuff,
Todd was like, you can already remove your Padawan roach clip. You're a full-fledged Jedi now. Yes.
Ask a 5-year-old. Other than cocoa powder, what's the main ingredient that has to be in any chocolate product? Sugar. It's now gone. How is this possibly going to work? Yet Steve blew right past it. Don't matter. Gotta try it.
I learned my lesson, and it was a very harsh lesson. All right. It was a very harsh lesson. Don't. That stuff is bad. That stuff is as bad as whoever made the decision to whoever planned out Kristi Noem's PR publicity campaign the last couple of years.
It's Mama Labad?
It's Mama Labad. Yeah. All right, let's get to it. You guys ready for some Feedback Friday?
Yes.
All right, let us begin. Where should we go here? Let us start. In my inbox, actually, is where I want to start. So let's go here. My wife and I are some of the many in your audience that slowly warm to your show. I love that. I love that opening line. That is so good.
Costanza.
In other words, we couldn't find anything else, and then we just decided to grin and bear it.
Oh.
Okay.
We hated it at first.
Yeah, we used to say on the show, try it for 6 weeks. And it takes some time, and then at the end of 6 weeks, if you still don't like it, just keep listening to it anyway. Remember, we used to say that on the show. Yeah, we went from those guys are full of themselves to those guys speak truth, but I digress. I am not writing to pump up your egos anymore. I love how I originally hated your guts, but I'm not here to pump up your ego. I love how this is going, but this note's going to get better. I promise. All right.
Oh, it's great so far.
But Todd's like, he's growing up. He's finally happening. He's growing up.
She's like, vinegar does have a certain quality to it.
He goes, I wanted to share my wife and I's journey that we're still on. In the spring of 2021, after trying to have a baby for 2 years, we decided to go to the doctors and see if there was something wrong with one of us. After some testing, it was discovered that I could not bear children. So we went to a fertility clinic to see what could be done, and my wife and I got to see the corporate side of fertility in full action. There was no discussion of treatments or even to find the cause of my fertility problems, but the fertility clinic's only answer was to purchase donor sperm and go the IVF route. Deep in our hearts, we did not feel right about this. My wife and I were searching for other options, but the clinic kept pushing this. We left that clinic downtrodden and generally in despair. We had our own grieving process that we had to go through after learning we could not have children biologically. After some time went by a stroke of what I can only be described as divine intervention, my wife found an ad for the Snowflakes Embryo Adoption Program. After much prayer and consideration, we decided that was the route for us to start and grow our family. On April 12th at 6:19 p.m., we welcomed our daughter, Evelyn Grace, into our family. Evelyn is one of 9 embryos that we adopted from a family that had gone through IVF and were done building their family. There are literally thousands of embryos in frozen storage waiting for a chance at life. Evelyn and her siblings were just one of many, waiting to be welcomed into the world. I write this letter with the hope that you will share this with your audience. The Snowflake Embryo Adoption Service has been such a blessing for us. The whole journey from the despair of finding out I could not have children of my own to becoming a father of our daughter has truly been a gift from God. It is my prayer that more people will find out about the Snowflakes program and adopt these precious embryos rather than make more embryos through the IVF sperm donor, egg donor process. If God has placed a desire in a married couple's hearts to become parents, but infertility has gotten in the way, this is an option that I think they should learn more about and consider. We understand that by nature, many of us want genetic children that will look like us and carry out our last name. But when God asked us to build his kingdom, he did not indicate that we could only do this by having biological children of our own. Our purpose in life should revolve around carrying God's image and name in our hearts and actions. During tough times, we must put our egos and pride aside so we can faithfully raise our true Heavenly Father's image bearers. In the end, it is not important that my last name and genetic code be tied to a lineage, but my hope is that God's glory be the remembered theme of those things. And that is from Ethan and Lindsay Shoup in Central Pennsylvania. And I just thought that was a tremendous note.
Yes.
And it reminded me one of the best book titles I've ever seen for a nonfiction book. It's Michael Reagan's memoir. Remember what it was called?
I don't.
Twice Adopted.
Yeah, that's right.
Is what he called it. And when he called it that because, of course, he was adopted by Ronald Reagan, but then he's adopted into the family of God through Christ. And therefore he called it Twice Adopted, which I just thought was very poignant and powerful. And the Shoup family's story reminded me of that.
For me, this called to mind as you were reading, Steve, that scene from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movie where Aslan has risen from the grave and returned, and he, very much mimicking or calling to mind the harrowing of hell, he breathes on all of those who were imprisoned in icy stone by the White Witch, the Ice Queen. Folks, this is beautiful. The horrible side of this story is that we are freezing human beings indefinitely. If you don't think that takes a psychological toll on an entire culture that just believes that it can do that. And it's just the science. No. And thank God these people have, in fact, rescued a beautiful child from that prison.
You know, this email that you just read, it kind of reminds or jogs the memory of something. And this is meeting at the intersection of all three of these. We've talked about this before. Receive, redeem, reject. I reject IVF as a means for people who are so attached to the idea, as the emailer just indicated that they let go of, that they must have flesh and blood biological children, that, yeah, that's intention. The intention is maybe good there, or at least at the very least neutral. You're trying to bring life into this world, redeeming your own situation where you may not be able to have kids the normal way, but the practice of doing so in the case of IVF is one, as Todd just indicated, is awful. So I reject that, but then you're meeting at another intersection, receiving. I receive the inclination, the desire to have children that this emailer just said. That is a very good desire. Just objectively, in my opinion, a good desire. And then redeeming. You're redeeming a situation in terms of adopting frozen embryos, a situation that is not good. It's amazing. God's economy is not the way that we would like to be, cut and dried. God's economy is his own thing. And good on you, especially in the redemptive aspect of this, for choosing that very unique pathway to growing your family.
This note I want to read and share with you guys next. I have heard some people share their stories on your show regarding major events that have been missed due to COVID. I hate to play the victim card, but wanted to share our story as a reminder of how horrible that time was. When I was a young father, my little boy shared at many times his desire to serve as a soldier in the U.S. Army. He was a very athletic kid, played sports year-round. I coached many of his teams, never missed any of his games, all the way through high school. I was so proud when he would share with others around us of the confidence that he had that I would be at all of his games, and he had no doubt. As he graduated and pointed to the next chapter in his life, I went to his swearing-in ceremony at Camp Dodge. So this is here in Iowa. It was everything that we pictured it would be for him growing up, knowing that this would become a reality one day. As our family gathered at the Des Moines International Airport on February 3rd, 2020, we could not guess what would come of the coming months. As COVID shutdowns were newly implemented, social distancing became a new concept, and limited numbers of people gathering were enforced. I remember waiting by my phone and watching daily news conferences from our governor, while her common sense approach was giving hope that we would be able to attend our soldiers' boot camp graduation. The federal government was not in the same philosophical universe. I remember the call when he called to inform me that he was unable to have any visitors for his graduation. I was sitting outside of a Walmart in my car, and two grown men were sobbing like I never want to again. This was the first event that I would ever miss of my son's. Graduation day came and the scene was grim. We were able to watch on a live media feed as he was acknowledged for his faithful pledge to his country through a Chinese face diaper. This was hardly the event that I pictured when I shipped him off. As time went by, his even more formal ceremony came and went with the same results. He graduated his AIT by himself as all of his family cheered him on in the comments once again on a live media feed. I didn't get to witness the joy that I used to have when he would look over and make sure I was there on the sidelines of his athletic events. He didn't get to find his dad in the crowd of proud onlookers as he became a soldier due to the extreme measures that were taken to shut the country down. I was finally able to give him that big dad hug as he walked off the escalators at the Des Moines International Airport as a soldier. It was awesome, but paled in comparison to what we were cheated out of. Fast forward to the fall of 2021, the young soldier has asked his sweetheart from Bible camp to marry him. The week approaching his wedding, I had tested positive for COVID. My wife and I were some of the fortunate ones to contract the Delta variant. We were sicker than I've ever been. Fortunate being sarcastic. We would have to forego my son's wedding, being reminded of the perfect attendance that I maintained previous to COVID. My wife and I were admitted to the hospital for a short 4-hour period to receive the monoclonal antibodies, and were back to work 2 days later after being off for 3 weeks. I once again would be watching the video over live streaming. The only photo I have with my son on his wedding day had to be photoshopped to add my wife and I, and it was created by my crafty new daughter-in-law. I am a newly minted grandfather as of April 4th to this beautiful union as I got to hold my grandson for the first time. My hope is that his daddy can be there for all of his important dates that will happen in his life. I don't think that you have overstated at all asking for accountability for this atrocity. It robbed me of 3 of the most important dates that have been on my calendar, and I am not alone. Don't let up no matter what the detractors say. Keep up the good work, brother. And that is from Mark Doland in Toledo, Iowa. What do you think? Or does it speak for itself?
I'm reliably told that Big Pharma saved the world, Steve.
And we've all just moved on. And everybody that did this and everybody that made these decisions, they're all getting reelected. They're all getting renominated. They're all getting book deals. They're all getting regranted, refunded. Because I guess they just all matter more than the rest of us do, I guess. Ben writes, my random thought for the day, Kristi Noem could have died the hero, but she lived long enough to become Cruella de Villain. No? Do you see what he did there?
I do.
Okay.
Listen, she's clearly having a moment.
Oh, she's having a moment, all right.
But folks, have we learned nothing? Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. She could be Speaker of the next one. It's not over for her. She's high. We thought this about Joe Biden. These people, their willingness to sell their soul is the number one requirement, and most of them are willing to sell it. So she ain't done. It may just be a new beginning.
Aaron, I need you for this next one from Chad, okay?
Okay.
I told you I was going to do this while you were gone, and we did do it. All right. So the 2 weeks while you were gone, we had our very capable intern, Victoria, whom you excellently trained. When she was uploading our show to YouTube, on purpose, we did the absolute. Now, we didn't want to bear false witness, so we didn't bring up stuff like we didn't even talk about. So it was all stuff every day. It was stuff that we addressed during the show, but we put the most obnoxious pro-Trump spin on it to see if this would reactivate our YouTube account, which, given the magnitude of this show, is a nothing burger. It's completely dead. I mean, it's deader than Kristi Noem's dogs. Okay. And a lot of that has to frankly do with the work we did during COVID. How many times did they strike us and suspend us? All of the times, basically. Yes. Okay. And we have never really recovered from that. We have over 50,000 YouTube subscribers, which for a show of this magnitude, given that that's the second largest search engine in the world, is nothing, right? It's basically nothing. Okay. So we did this to see if it would pump up our engagement on Facebook. And I mean, Todd, you, me, and Victoria were literally huddling after every show. What's the most obnoxious pro-Trump spin we could put on all of these show descriptions to see if the YouTube algorithm would trigger in our favor for a change, right? So Chad is wondering, are the results in? Do you know, did it work on any level?
Are the Muckety Mucks going to be upset if I share some general? Okay.
Don't ask for
ready
forgiveness.
To hear this?
Yeah.
You ready to hear this?
Don't ask for permission. Beg for forgiveness.
You ready to hear this? Are you guys ready to hear this?
Yes.
Our views for the last 28 days. So we've already gotten all of the views basically that we will have gotten in for the last 2 weeks that I was gone. They're basically where they were before. Watch time, basically where it was before. We lost over 100 subscribers. And our revenue is up.
So did it work or not? I don't know.
I don't know.
So the revenue is up, but we lost over 100 subscribers.
I'm not making that up.
By the way, I've got massive respect for the over 100 subscribers. Like, what in the Sam Hill is this crap, man? I'm out. Respect to you, okay? I respect that. I do. I'm feeling you. Okay, but mama's got to eat. All right. So was it a win or not?
I don't know. Is somebody stuffing a ballot box somewhere? What is going on?
That math is very confusing to me. We lost 100 subscribers, but our revenue went up.
And our views and watch time didn't change.
Wow.
And when we talk about our revenue went up, you couldn't buy a Green Mountain grill with the amount it went up. But it did go up.
It's a nothing burger. Yeah. So have you continued this since you came back, or are you being earned? Aaron's like, there's no way in hell I'm doing that unless he specifically commands me, and then I still might not. Okay. I like that you just unilaterally said, screw that noise. Not doing this anymore. So did we get those 100 subscribers back and then the revenue went down? Is that how it works?
You want me to look real quick?
Yeah. The 100 subscribers came back, but then the revenue bit went back down.
Yeah, let's see what we've done the last week. Audience. Over... Why do you make this so difficult, YouTube, on the app? I don't know. Audience. How do I see?
If it's not immediately noticeable, then the answer's no.
Last 7 days. I can't find it. It's no.
Am I just Vanta blacklisted at YouTube for at this point? Anything with my name on it?
I would think
so.
Last
7 days. Here we go.
Okay.
We have picked up 26 subscribers over the last 7 days.
Okay. Am I just Vanta blacklisted? Is YouTube the Silicon Valley CPAC? There's just no chance. There's nothing I could do. Anything that has my likeness or name on it in the branding, I'm on the list.
What else do you have to do to get there?
You do know we're trying to build a business here in opposition to the second largest search engine on planet Earth, right? That does create a certain a difficulty in building said business successfully. Not being blacklisted on the second largest search engine in the world, it can make the task at least moderately more difficult.
Yes. Sunk costs, man. Sunk costs.
Okay, sunk cost. It's sunk all right.
Yeah.
That's true. It's sunk all right. All right. When we come back, we're going to lead off with 2 notes in the inbox that are critical, because I think everything's been too nice. And
critical of us. Oh.
Yeah, critical of us.
Excellent.
Yeah. I think everything's been too affirming or nice, and
What did you do, Deborah?
Yes, it's not going to be Deborah. It's going to be, pardon me, it's going to be Rod and Ruben. It's going to be Rod and Ruben, and they're asking us, what have you done? Steve Deace Show, what have you not done, for that matter?
Okay.
So we will let Rod and Ruben take us behind the woodshed when we return here on a Feedback Friday, and then we'll see after we're done responding to them if there's any time left for anybody else.
Set your feet, Rod and Ruben.
Sounds like we might need to set our feet, in fact. So gird your loins. Next. Well, if you were listening earlier or watching earlier when we talked to our friend Shannon Joy, who was with us on the Deace Group, about her recent appearance with the folks over at the HighWire and the emphasis on having as much control over your healthcare as you can, having as much access to medical freedom as you can. Since almost all of the people who did the scamdemic to us the first time are still in power and or walking free, why wouldn't they do it to us again? Just this time, let's be more prepared. Our friends at Jace Medical can help you with that. With the Jace case, you can get a collection of some of the most time-honored and venerable and respected antibiotics in the world in your Jace case. You can also customize it to make sure the medications that you need are there as well. And yes, ivermectin can be included in your Jace case when you go to jacemedical.com. JASE for jacemedical.com. Again, I think this is also a great option, folks. If you've got a loved one right now who's on any form of Medicare or Medicaid, then basically they're a ward of the state from a healthcare perspective. This is a great way for you to supplement that for them and to make sure, particularly if they're elderly and they just aren't able to look after themselves as much as they used to be anymore, to make sure that they've got what they need here for the final furlong of their race. All right, JaceMedical.com. JASE is the website, how it's spelled. And if you use the code DACE at checkout, you'll get a discount. Code DACE at checkout for a discount at JaceMedical.com. All right, some more Feedback Friday. Ruben says, I am a long-term watcher, but I must say I am getting increasingly disappointed in your show. So are we. I find it quite ironic and hypothetical that you talk about cottage industries on the right and that everyone has a grift. I never said everyone has a grift. What I said is there's every issue or sector has an angle for a grift. That's what I said. Anyway. Meanwhile, your own show chooses to make the entire montage about Kristi Noem putting down a dog that needed to be down. No question that was monumentally stupid of her to put out there given her aspirations, but to endlessly bash her about the head with it on a show like yours just proves that you guys have a grift as well and you're part of the machine. Well, yeah, we have to make money. Todd, are you here for free?
No.
Aaron, what about you?
No.
No, this is a for-profit venture?
Yes.
Did I ever exempt did I ever say that that we weren't here with our own financial angle? Have I ever made that claim?
Don't think so.
No, it's a for-profit venture, So I never, when I said that everything on the right, one of the driving impulses of everything on the right is somebody's got a grift angle to it. When I said that last week, did I exempt ourselves from this?
Don't think so.
I did not. No. So yeah, I don't understand the complaint.
Was that it?
No, there's more. Okay. Here's one way you can know I'm correct. Look at Russell Brand, one of the most influential voices in pop culture, one that is pragmatic on par with a Joe Rogan in terms of relevance and overall worldview, and he got baptized this weekend in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, and you're not going to say a word about it. Welcome to the machine, my friend. Respectfully, Ruben. I kind of just said a word about it via your email, but Ruben, you're asking a good question. I'll tell you why. Remember John and Kate +8? You may or may not. I learned a very bitter lesson with John and Kate +8. So John and Kate +8 was one of the first reality shows to go mega. Absolutely blew up. What is this, Todd? Maybe about 15 years ago now? 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah? I think that sounds right, yeah.
And this thing went mega, and it was this Christian family, and their 8 kids, and it was just, it was about them, and it was about the same time that the Duggars were blowing up too. Is about this exact same time that the reality show about the Duggar family in Arkansas was blowing up too. Okay, and we celebrated them at the time. Zondervan gave them a big, huge, massive book deal after the opening season. This became like a cause celeb, and they were talking about their faith and their family and everything else. By the time I think it was like season 2, John's tapping the nanny in between lung darts outside of the house. Kate's about to move out. You know what I'm saying here? And there was just no depth there. And they were given this massive amount of spiritual street cred before there was really any fruit that indicated they were worthy of that level of platforming within our own ecosystem. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not rooting against Russell Brand. I hope that the seed takes root, but I would like to see some fruit on the tree first. That's all. That's why we haven't celebrated it. That's all. Something personal. I said something personal to you guys behind the scenes about Russell Brand.
No.
Did we have like a, hey, don't mention the Russell Brand? Aaron, were you told not to mention Russell Brand's baptism in your montage?
No.
No, it's just...
I've just been through Kanye West, who wants to do his own porn now.
Correct.
And
yeah.
Just going to wait.
We on the right, whether you're a Christian on the right or on the right, just regardless of whatever your religious viewpoint is, our desire for pop culture acceptance and crossover appeal exceeds even our pretend disdain for pop culture and celebrity. I mean, it's Jesse Waters putting a cast member from Jersey Shore on Fox News primetime because he complained about taxes once. It's let's do a bunch of articles about 50 Cent because he complained about taxes once. See, we're not shut-ins. We're not troglodytes. We're not knuckle draggers. We can be cool too. We're like Fredo. I'm smart. I can do. I'm cool. I can be chic. I need to show this to you, Michael. No. So, would love to see, because I'm going to get 15 emails from people pointing out, well, Russell Brand then the very next day talked about tarot cards, which he did, by the way. I saw it on his feed. Okay. Again, that's also that could be part of a spiritual growth process. How about we just sit back and watch the master gardener at work and see what fruit ends up on the tree? I mean, I've been a believer for 20 years. So is my wife. 4 years ago, we nearly divorced and split up our family. And there's probably people that knew me before I became a believer that would have said, not knowing this was going on in my personal life, wow, there's a lot of fruit on you guys' tree. This is not easy. It's a narrow road. So while I am happy I'm happy that he took that plunge, let's wait and see if it bears real fruit first. That's all. No intent was meant by it, which is why when you brought it up, Ruben, I made sure to mention it. Go ahead, Todd.
This is all solid food, and you're being very nice, but I don't think it addresses the fundamental issue at hand. Ruben, which one of your sacred cows did we recently tip over? Because we explicitly have this show is one of the most explicitly Christian worldview-dominated shows in all of media, period. So whether we brought up Russell Brand specifically or not...
Do you think it's a false objection?
It's insane.
Okay.
It's not... What... Have you? We've been doing Romans for a month. And you're really trying to say we're just like... this... We're throwing the Lord under the bus on this. Come on, man. Before you get on the keyboard, think this one through. Steve was too nice to you.
Well, last week I was told I had the patience of Job, so maybe I am growing up. And another matter. Aaron wasn't here for that. Let's move on. Rod, you have a lens, and through that lens, you can only see Republican weakness and perfidy. Well, fair enough that plenty exists, but your lens filters out a lot of things Republicans are doing right. In Aaron's montage, okay. In his next sentence, in Aaron's montage,
which aired where?
Which airs where? Who platformed Aaron's montage? Who gave Aaron the opening monologue to his own show? But I'll continue on. In Aaron's montage, he highlighted how the Kansas Republican legislature voted to override the governor's veto of pro-life bills. Instead, you jump to the Arizona legislators who voted opposite their website claims. I confess I've not listened to the rest of the show as time is limited. So if you included lauding Kansas Republicans, never mind. We lauded them at the beginning of the show. Before I spoke, the Kansas Republicans that did were lauded.
Shouldn't this be a complaint that I'm actually pimping Republicans? This should be a complaint. Why didn't, if Aaron's going to say the good things the Kansas lawmakers did, why is he ignoring what the Republican lawmakers did or did not do in Arizona? This should actually be a complaint that I was pimping the Republican Party that doesn't deserve it.
Let's let Rod finish his point, because you're going to love the next part.
I bet I won't.
You're not going to love the next part. I do not want to hear one word from you blaming Republicans for low turnout in November. If it is there, it will it will in part be on you and those like you who will only undermine Republican efforts, many times saying the Republican Party is the real threat. And I'm looking at you and Daniel Horowitz. So when you do future analysis on Republican turnout, you should probably include the impact of nattering nabobs of negatism. That's a quote from Spiro Agnew from like before I was born, by the way. Okay. So Nixon's VP who had to resign in disgrace, but I digress. First of all, I'm not on the ballot. I'm not responsible for Republican turnout on any level. Do you know who's responsible for Republican turnout? The people that would get people to turn out, the candidates, number one. Number two, you're giving me way too much credit, man. Dude, in my own backyard, where I am supposedly a kingmaker, I helped generate 14% turnout. I'm really not that important. Within the limited ecosystem that God has provided here, I hope that we're doing our best to be a positive influence on people with things like the Roman study that you cited, Todd. But in the grand scheme of things, if this last primary cycle proved anything, it's that I really don't have that much influence. And there's really no need for anybody to seek out my support, want it, running for any semblance of a national audience. I couldn't get 15% turnout in my own home state. And I went out on the campaign trail, several stops for Ron DeSantis while I was on Christmas break the last few weeks of the campaign. So I'm not that important. But ultimately, it is not my job to turn out for a political party. I don't work for the Republican Party. I'm actually not even been a registered Republican and haven't been most of my career. It is the Republican Party's responsibility to turn its own people out. Not once, Rod, did you point out what I said wasn't true. So again, it's not about whether the outcome of what I'm saying is true. It's about whether it is actually true. And it is actually true, which is why you could not counter it. So therefore, it is the role of the Republican Party to turn out its own voters. I'm not an official of the Republican Party. I'm not a candidate of the party. I'm in no position of influence or power within the party. Number two, I don't really have the power or influence to turn out a lot of voters anyway, which I just proved on January the 15th. Number three, you couldn't point out any of my criticisms were incorrect factually, and the reason why is because they are. And number four, thank you for the email. This part of the show brought to you by our friends over at Hillsdale.
You're just going to blow by letting me talk, aren't you? You
know
where that's going to go, don't you?
I want to make sure you get a chance, okay? But Hillsdale's paying the bill, so they go before you, all right? Okay, fair?
I thought you were like, I see that look. We're not doing this.
No, I saw that look, and I'm like, all right, let me get Hillsdale in right now so Todd can show me that look. Yes. Hillsdale does outstanding work. And they're on the front lines of trying to save what's left of our constitutional republic, to restore our constitutional republic. You can get a free, no obligation subscription, no cost, no obligation subscription to Imprimis. That's Hillsdale's publication that is part of its educational mission on behalf of liberty, with great thinkers and writers like Christopher Rufo, Victor Davis Hanson, and more, so that you can learn all of the latest assaults on our way of life and our constitutional republic. Join the over 6 million Americans that receive this for free when you go to DaceForHillsdale.com. FOR is how you go there for Dace for Hillsdale, not the number, the preposition. DaceForHillsdale.com is where you want to go. If you don't already get it, you get it for free at DaceForHillsdale.com. Final thoughts, Todd. You get to go first.
Rod, you complained about something that you admit in your own narrative you didn't have enough time to listen to long enough to know if that narrative was valid. But you did have enough time to publicly air the complaint. Do you see the problem here in the math? Again, why'd you really do this? Because if you're admitting that you don't have enough time to be accurate, but you do have enough time to go blathering on about it, which sacred cow of yours did we tip over? I'm guessing he's orange and has a lot of lawsuits aimed at him. Guys, this has been a bad half hour. Stop it.
Oh, it's about to get worse.
Yes.
Hashtag Vanta Black.
Somebody tweeted at me earlier this week, does anybody monitor the live stream chat during your show? Steve's really driving people up the wall with his crudity and screaming. To which I responded, what's your point?
Yeah, that's a day that ends in Y.
So this person was in my mentions for the next 6 hours or so. And the last tweet that I saw from this person is, well, I'll still probably have the Blaze on in the background. It's good for some background noise. I rarely actually pay attention. Sometimes they have some good nuggets. So we began with, you're paying so close attention to the stream that you're monitoring each comment in the live chat. 6 hours later, I'm not going to renew my BlazeTV subscription, but I'll have it on in the background because sometimes there are some occasionally good nuggets. Can I have another week of paternity leave? Oh, I'm sorry. Vacation. I learned also on paternity leave, don't call vacation time that you take after the welcoming of a newborn. Don't call that paternity leave.
Yeah, one guy emailed me like 6 times the last 2 weeks to say you were you violated the due code with paternity leave.
Yeah, don't call it that.
We love you guys so much. And we know you love us too. Which is why, in spite of our best efforts, we're going to be back here again on Monday, we think. Romans 8:28.